Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being with us. I was very grateful to hear your discussion in relation to the questions that Mr. Roscom asked about the time you're spending looking at terrorist financing around the world. One legacy issue that we're still unclear on relates to the Iran nuclear deal that was struck by the previous administration. You're now in a powerful position to understand more about details that were not so clear previously. One ambiguous question relates not to the small sum or the significant sum that was turned over to Iran, the $1.7 billion that they've been able to utilize by virtue of the release of the four hostages. But there have been great difficulty in actually calculating what other kinds of Iranian assets had been subjected to sanctions that were subsequently lifted according to the agreement. It's been estimated in the New York Times, U.S. News and World Report, and other places that it's anywhere between $100 and $150 billion, dollars that could be released back into Iran to be utilized for numbers of purposes, but including the potential that it would be funneled back into the sponsorship of terrorism. Is there any ability for the Treasury Department to identify what actually is out there in the form of assets which had been previously frozen, which may still be in some status of being frozen still? Can we calculate if, in fact, $100 or $150 billion was returned to Iran? Because part of the agreement certainly reflects the idea that there are supposed to be snapback provisions associated with that, as well as complete compliance by Iran. Some would question whether they have been. I think you understand the tenor of my question, but the focus is, can the Treasury Department calculate what there is with respect to Iranian assets? It seems like they're mostly oil proceeds and other kinds of things that have been suspended in Asian banks and otherwise. But where it is, what it is, and whether it still may be subjected to sanctions. I close my comments by saying, in addition, there's about a $45 billion credit that's, not credit, to families of terrorism, which has been won in American banks, which I believe should be used against any assets before any dollars are turned over to Iran. But I'm wondering if you could have Treasury calculate what is actually still potentially subjected to, being held away from Iran.
Yes, we have very good data and very good access to information, obviously on a classified basis. But as I mentioned earlier, the sanctions are very effective. We continue to put sanctions on Iran, on their ballistic missiles, and on terrorism.
Thank you.